an overhaul of track mats, and native H.264, see you later media encoder round trip. These are some of the new features that have been added to Adobe After Effects and announced this past week at Adobe Max. They've added a stack of new little treats that will help get the best out of your creativity, much like a subscription to Envato Elements will, which gives you access to millions of digital assets that you can download and you can use in your projects right away. Assets like video templates or graphic assets. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Envato Elements, then go ahead and click that little link down in the description below. All right, let's jump into it. These are the top things I'm excited about for After Effects from Adobe Max 2022. Well, the big one here is the overhaul of how track mats work. All you need to do is jump into the subreddit for After Effects and you'll see just how happy a small change like this can make an entire community. So track mats in previous versions of After Effects were kind of a little bit finicky, and you'd have to be quite conscious of how your layers were arranged. But with this new update, the team has added a track mat dropdown and overhauled generally how track mats operate. So now you no longer have to position the track mat above the target layer. Instead, you can use any layer of your composition as a track mat, no matter where it sits in the stack. You can even have multiple layers referencing a single layer for their mat. They've also added some little alpha and luma inversion switches in the new update to the UI as well, a super handy update. Next up is something that I've seen a lot of people complaining about in the past, and that was a lack of native H.264 support in the program. Now don't get me wrong, this is not a one-size-fits-all application, and I still definitely believe that you should be rendering your motion graphics out using the higher quality ProRes codec. However, the fact that in the past to get a quickly shareable H.264 version of your animation out of the program, it meant that you kind of had to leave the program and render via media encoder, well, that's just kind of a frustrating workflow. So having H.264 as a native encoder option is very, very welcome. There's a bunch of brand spanking new animation presets as well. Now these have often in the past been overlooked in the program, and rightfully so, because most of the presets were, let's say, not very usable in a professional setting. But recently Adobe has got together with a bunch of the world's best motion designers to collaborate with them on this update, and they've added a heap of really usable and, more importantly, really modern animation presets into the program. So go ahead and check them out. There's a ton in there, way too many to recap in this quick little video. There's also a few other handy little tools in this update, so go ahead and check out the full list for yourself, and you can find that info at the Adobe website or via your Creative Cloud installer. Now the last thing I do want to mention is some of the fun things that they're working on in the beta versions of the program, and it looks like there's going to be a big emphasis on 3D assets in the next iteration of After Effects. And 3D is something that they talked heavily about in the keynote for Adobe Max this year. Some of the beta tools for 3D include an extended viewer when working in 3D space. It allows you to see the rest of your 3D assets that are sitting outside of the bounding box of your composition canvas. I actually think it would be really fantastic to see this being able to be toggled on and off even when working in 2D, just doing text and other basic motion design as well. So hopefully that's something that we see in future updates. There also looks to be what appears to be an overhaul of the layer properties with the introduction of a layer properties panel. So this will allow you to change the properties on a selected layer like position, scale, rotation, anchor point, and opacity without twirling down those properties in the timeline, which will allow for a cleaner view of your workspace. Again, a very welcome update, as tweaking these properties is oftentimes the majority of what you're actually doing when you're working within the program. So there we go, that's just the lowdown on the updates for Adobe After Effects as announced this week at Adobe Max 2022. Let me know down below in the comments what you're excited about in this update and what you're still hoping to see added to newer iterations of the program. Now until next time, happy animating.